I think it's different. It's not every cryptocurrency has its vertical where it exists. I've said this many times. My belief is that Bitcoin is pure money. Pure money is has no use case other than being money, other than being accepted as a medium of exchange. It only is useful because we believe it's useful. Whereas something like Ethereum is a commodity. You actually burn ETH to use its services, the decentralized virtual computer. And so it has a utility outside of its moneyness. And the network, Ethereum network, has chosen over time to prioritize the usefulness of ETH. And I think the number one signpost of that was how the community voted to revoke immutability of the blockchain during the 2016 DAO hack and subsequent hard fork. The community decided we would rather have something that is useful to people in terms of this decentralized computer and move that forward rather than being sticklers for immutability and moneyness of this thing. And now that we've moved to a proof of stake situation where we have this native yield, it further cements ETH as a commodity based money that is useful. Oh, so money is the wrong word. A commodity based thing that's useful. It's not money. So I think Bitcoin and ETH are different things. If you want to talk about layer ones with some sort of computing capacity, obviously Ethereum is the thing to beat. Just about all the other competing layer ones are just Ethereum clones, and some do get some good. Some do things better than ETH, and most things they don't do better than ETH. But the community of Ether is stronger, and now we have a yield, and so I can buy Ether and I can stake it and I can earn something, and that's going to be it's going to suck capital in from other competing layer ones. But Ethereum, and Bitcoin are completely different things.
Awesome. Mike, any thoughts on that of what's more likely to become money, ETH or BTC?
Well, let me ask the question rather than making a statement. Historically, obviously, commodity money has been a thing for a really long time, basically since there has been money. Is there a role for Ethereum as a kind of money in the sense that assets eventually get priced in it? It starts being a store of value, more of a reserve currency for one of several reserve currencies. Is that a thing that you envision happening in the world? Not necessarily believing that it will supplant Bitcoin, but just being another kind of money that's available as an option.
Is this question directed at me? Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, it was.
Yeah. So again, use cases, right? So of course, anything you can save money in ETH, you can save money in gold, you can save money in oil, you can save money in US dollars, right? It's just a question of, how do you price that? And so if you think about Ethereum, I do have a moneyness aspect to it. And, that is based on security of the network and whether or not transactions will always be valid. Ethereum has broken that promise. That moneyness promise in 2016, not a bad thing. It's just that what this community is focused on is how do we make this the most robust and secure decentralized computer, and we're going to tinker with the economics of the network to make that happen, and that's what we've done. That's what proof of stake is. That's what the merge is. This is what the staking yields are. Shanghai Operate, all this kind of stuff is like furthering this goal of how do we make the most robust decentralized computer. Now, at some points in time, people may say that I would like to store my wealth in that versus something like Bitcoin, which doesn't do anything. Other times, that may not be. For other people, that may not be what they actually want. I just want something that's pure money. I don't want to have to worry about, did the network fuck up some upgrade or not, and the price of this token goes up or down by a lot, right? And so it depends on what you're actually going for. That doesn't mean that one or the other won't outperform. Like Ethereum could be in this bull cycle the best performing crypto, if you want to look at it and versus fiat terms, or it could not be. But again, it's a very personal decision of like what you're actually trying to accomplish, and what types of variables do you want to take on in terms of like if you're storing value, like what kind of risk do you want to take? You're taking a different sort of risk when you're denominating assets in ETH, not necessarily as a bad thing, but it's just different.
Do you see it as a prerequisite for Bitcoin for it to be used for, let's say, like a lot of transactions, and for there to be lots of assets to be priced in Bitcoin, for it to, maintain and it become more of this kind of store of value and an inflation hedge, over time.
Sorry, you mean Ethereum? You're saying?
No. So Bitcoin, because one of the challenges, obviously, that Bitcoin has is finding ways to integrate into payment rails, right? Like Lightning Network has been around, but is not used a ton. In other words, do you view it as sufficient for Bitcoin to just be a really rock solid, provably scarce asset, or do you think it it needs to eventually start being used for more kind of transactions?
Well, obviously the economic model needs Bitcoin to be used for transactions. Now, whether that's just people moving money to pay for things, they stored some value in Bitcoin, and okay, I need to spend some Bitcoin to do X, Y, Z. That's perfectly fine if enough of that happens at scale to pay for the cost of securing the network. Does Bitcoin need to do other things? I don't think so. It needs to do that very, very well. If a 2016 situation happened where the Bitcoin network decided that immutability of past transactions was not a core tenet of its offering, the price would plummet because it has nothing else to go on. It's literally it's a confidence game of, okay, do we believe in these principles? And if we're willing to violate these principles, for a short-term expedient reason, then why do I hold Bitcoin? You hold it because it does nothing happens. That's the point. I know people deride it for that, but if you want something that does something, there's Ethereum. There's thousands of other coins, and I'm not trying to basically say I am money, I am secure, I will do whatever it takes to maintain this. I'm not going to focus on all these other things. If you want programmable money, there you go. There's Ethereum, right? There's smart contracts, there's all this stuff, right? So I think it's sort of a different sort of use case. And it's not a bad thing that Bitcoin doesn't do anything. It's a great thing that Bitcoin doesn't do anything, because then it gives clouds the value proposition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess you can look at it as sort of an analogy to gold, in that day to day, nobody, generally speaking, uses gold for transactions, but it's used to back, or it used to be used to back currencies, and so maybe that almost becomes kind of the relationship between Bitcoin and whether it's other crypto or other currencies, in that it just sits there. It is used to back other assets, and then the other assets can sort of use it as part of a basket of goods to try and maintain some stability. So I guess maybe that's the analogy that works.
Yeah, I think I agree mostly with that.
There was a really interesting analogy, and I'm probably going to butcher it. Peter Thiel made back at I think it was last year or the year before at BTC Miami, where he sort of likened Bitcoin as gold, and in the sense that it was this sort of low velocity money that's just used as a store, and then Ethereum is much more like silver, where it doesn't have as much value, and it's designed to be much more kind of transactional, high velocity. I hadn't I don't know if I fully parsed that, whether or not I agree with it, but I think it was at least an interesting way to look at it.